Cambodian police are investigating the cause of a stampede that killed at least 410 people. Hundreds more were injured in the crush, which happened during an annual festival in the capital. A national day of mourning will be held on Thursday. Harry Fawcett reports from Phnom Penh.
The gruesome scene of the worst tragedy to befall Cambodia in more than 30 years. Hundreds died here as a celebratory crowd marking the end of a 3-day water festival on a mid-river island panicked and stampeded across the bridge. Some reports suggested the trigger was an electrocution caused by the bridge's lighting system, others that it was the sheer crush of people on the island. The Prime Minister addressed the nation twice during the night and apologized to his people.
This is the biggest tragedy we've experienced in the last 31 years, since the collapse of the Pol Pot regime.
As word spread, relatives gathered at Phnom Penh's 4 main hospitals to search for their missing. Those who had died laid out in rows to be claimed, bunches of bananas placed at their heads to nourish their spirits.
This is where the worst fears of many of the relatives are confirmed. They wait alongside the bodies of their loved ones until they're assigned to military trucks to be taken home for cremation.
And so it was with Hun Kun Thia, a 20-year-old student from Ta Keo province, 75 kilometers away. 2 of her cousins had been sent to the capital to accompany her home.
She was a student and she didn't have much time for fun. She'd only been in Phnom Penh for 2 months and now she's passed away. It makes me feel such regret.
A few meters away inside the hospital, the survivors, many recovering from surgery to alleviate compression injuries, like Chen Paon, who lost his wife and 2 friends in the crush.
I was standing. I didn't fall, but so many people were pressing on me. I was stuck, and there were so many dead bodies stacked on top of my legs.
And Tay Che Lee, who was sure he would die on the bridge.
When the people were stacked on top of me, 4 or 5 of them, I didn't think I could survive, because I could not move at all.
Police are investigating and the Prime Minister has announced a day of national mourning on Thursday. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, Phnom Penh, Cambodia.
Okay, Tom.
Buddhist monks pray for the dead and injured in the aftermath of the stampede at a water festival in Cambodia. The disaster began on a bridge connecting an island to the mainland on Phnom Penh. Survivors spoke of shouts that people had been electrocuted. Others heard that the bridge was about to collapse. In the panic, many of the victims were suffocated or trampled to death. The painful process of identifying the bodies has already begun. Officials say 375 have been confirmed dead, with over 700 injured. Working into the night, emergency crews on the scene battled to pull out the dead and injured. Desperate to alleviate the suffering, police sprayed water onto the crowds for survivors to drink and stay cool. Weak and dehydrated, many were jammed in amongst the dead for hours before being lifted away to safety. Some still face the agonizing wait to find out if friends and family are safe.
Up at the scene, a stark reminder of how one of the most festive events in the Cambodian calendar quickly descended into horror. Police block off the short suspension bridge, looking for answers to a stampede which killed hundreds of people during an annual water festival. The Prime Minister Hun Sen referring to the nation's loss as the worst since the murderous Khmer Rouge regime more than 30 years ago.
Today I am very sad that a very big tragedy happened at the Kopik site on the night of November 22nd, 2010. It is the first time such a thing has happened since the Pol Pot regime.
Survivors have told of utter pandemonium as dense crowds tried to flee the crush, being trampled underfoot and falling into the water. As emergency crews extricated bodies from the human gridlock, the victims were lined on the bridge to shocked relatives.
During Pol Pot's time, they killed all my family. I am alone, and I only have one boy. I hope for the future that he can take care of me. But now he's dead before I am. Please help me.
A celebration and concert marking the end of the rainy season was underway in the capital Phnom Penh. Revelers had converged on an entertainment hub called Diamond Island when chaos broke out. Some witnesses say light cables had come loose on the island's North Bridge, electrocuting people. The Prime Minister's office denying those reports for now. Through the night, ambulances raced between the river and overwhelmed hospitals. Hallways made into makeshift wards as the city's main medical facility was stretched to capacity. Hundreds of people wounded, many critically. The focus now on saving those lives before they add to a mounting death toll. Gerald Tan, Al Jazeera.
Well, the panic began on this sliver of land in the Tonle Sap River. Crowds were trying to escape Diamond Island over this bridge. Most of the injured were rushed to Calmet Hospital, overloading the system. Many are now receiving treatment in area facilities, as our correspondent Harry Fawcett reports.
Well, we're here at the Priya Kosamek Hospital, one of the 4 main hospitals that have been accepting the injured and indeed the dead from this terrible catastrophe to befall this city. We've been speaking to an orthopedic surgeon here, an Australian former Red Cross doctor, who said that most of the injuries really are compression injuries, not so many broken bones, but just the sheer impact of all the people pressing together. He said they were interlocking on the bridge, and that makes the muscles bruised, makes them swell up, and can constrict nerves and interrupt blood supply, causing gangrene. People have been operated on to counteract that in tiny little rooms like this. For instance, the young lad at the back there on the left, he's had an operation on his leg to open up his leg to allow the swelling to have somewhere to go other than his blood vessels and his nerves. This is the key thing that the doctors here really have been doing. And if you come over to the other direction, out this window here, this is the other main operation at this hospital where the dead have been collected. You can see their makeshift coffins. There are army vehicles, big open-backed trucks to take the dead back to their hometowns. We've been speaking to one man whose 2 daughters, 19 and 20, had been at this concert, both of them killed. He'd come 140 kilometers from the Vietnamese border where their home village is to collect their bodies to take them home for immediate cremation. It's culturally the norm here to cremate people just a day or so after they've been killed. As for the actual site of the incident, that's about an hour's drive away from here, and the police are there investigating exactly what caused this terrible stampede. The key thing, though, really seems to be that this was the first time such a big event was held on this island, and there was only one route really off when panic did ensue. And that's where the bottleneck happened. That's where all these injuries and all these fatalities took place.
All right, returning now to